Dear colleagues, my name is Sabina Vidulin.
My name is Breza Žižović.
We work at the Juraj Dobrila University as professors of didactics of music and fine art. The title of our presentation is Preschool Children's Experience of Classical Music Expressed Through Fine Art. Since preschool education in Croatia is structured so as to support artistic activities that contribute to children's holistic development through an interdisciplinary approach and content integration, in this presentation we will show a result of one project which links music and fine art. It is well known that experience and better understanding of content is achieved through the interdisciplinary approach and integration. Even in the Croatian national curriculum, it is supported as a successful model. It is very important to identify a strategy which can be used for integration of the content so the child can acquire knowledge and develop skills in a greater manner. Let's see what happens when music and art are joined together. Music education is implemented on a daily basis in preschool institution with a purpose to experience music. Several activities are proposed as singing, music listening, playing instruments, music making, but also other non-musical activities can contribute to the child's holistic development. At the same time, fine art education is a very important segment in child's development and therefore an integral part of daily activities. Fine art activities are implemented through children's artistic expression and exploring various painting techniques and materials. The artistic activities can be integrated as well as in music with other forms or both artistic and scientific content. In this presentation, we will present the results of the interdisciplinary research which included two fields of art: music and fine art. The research was oriented in finding out how preschool children react to music through drawing. The music teacher selected the musical pieces, while the fine art teacher prepared didactical instructions for the university students who implemented fine art activities with preschool children. Children aged 3 to 7 from kindergartens in Croatia participated in the research. The purpose of the research was to examine the influence of the musical piece on the use of visual elements of a dot, line and color in children's fine art expression as well as distinctive motifs. 6 hypotheses were put forward. Hypothesis 1. Stimulated by a musical piece of expressed rhythmical patterns and different tempos, children respond by drawing visual elements of dots and lines. Hypothesis 2. Stimulated by a pronouncedly dynamic, children respond by drawing visual elements of line and color. Hypothesis 3. Stimulated by a musical piece of varied characteristics, children respond by drawing visual elements. Hypothesis 4. Stimulated by a vocal instrumental musical piece, children respond with recognizable motifs. Hypothesis 5. Stimulated by an instrumental musical piece, children respond with an abstract artistic composition. And finally, hypothesis 6. Children convey an equal emotion when listening to a musical piece and when drawing a composer's portrait. The research was based on the method of qualitative observation and analysis of children's paintings, as well as on the comparative method. The research carried out in January and February 2023 in 7 kindergartens in Croatia included 122 children from 3 to 7 years of age, but for the needs of this presentation, we analyzed the artistic expression inspired by 4 musical pieces. The sample included 63 children, 62 children painted portraits of composers from 4 kindergartens in Istria. The music teacher selected 4 musical pieces, analyzed musical elements and the content of the piece, and held a meeting with the university students to introduce them to the musical pieces, such as Jula's song from Jakov Gotovac's opera Ero from the Other World. Alfie Kabiljo's song Made the Whole World from the musical Yalta Yalta. A fragment from The Dance of the Hours from Amilcare Ponchielli's opera La Gioconda, and a fragment from Bedřich Smetana's Vltava. The fine art teacher agreed with the students on an equal didactical articulation for all painting activities. 2 painting techniques were selected, tempera and oil pastels, which can be used by children to present the visual elements of a dot, line, color and plane. The fragment from the musical pieces was played twice in the first day. There was no mention of the piece in the introductory part to avoid being suggestive. During the second listening, the children painting on paper. The following day, the children listened to the music piece again, and students talked to children about the piece and the composer. They were shown a photo of the composer's portrait, after which the children used a pencil or coal to draw it.
For this presentation, we chose the musical piece by the Italian composer Amilcare Ponchielli, The Dance of the Hours, La Gioconda. 2 drawings were depicted for the analysis and comparison, one dynamic and dancing, the other static, strict and firm. The first painting was created using the oil pastels technique according to the development stages of the child's artistic expression. The piece can be placed in the intellectual development stage as best demonstrated by the depiction of the human figure. The child draws a double limb line, details of the human figure, the ground line raised about bottom edge of the paper, and creates the illusion of space by drawing elements in sequences on the paper. In terms of composition, the drawing covers the entire paper. The circle drawn in sequences on the paper in upward rows create rhythm. Regardless of equal shapes, the rhythm is not monotonous because the child painted different elements inside the circles. Each circle is a world in itself and seems to follow a certain melody, sequence, and repetition in a varied form. The melody ascends and descends gradually with leaps, and the end of the phrase manifested in the line the child uses to dance between and around all the circle and figure she drew. The child never takes her hand off the paper and creates a line in one stroke. The colors are harmonious without any pronounced contrasting accents. The only deviation in the colors is visible in the choice of black color, which seems to outline the baton movement. The painting is filled with colors, circles, and lines dancing harmoniously and joyful as if in space. The painting technique and the artistic development stage in the second painting are the same as in the previous piece. The intellectual realism stage is manifested in the depiction of a space, ground line, skyline. The difference is in the child's artistic type. This child is an intellectual type with well-developed fine motor skills. She uses pastels to draw a strong and controlled line, and she keeps her strokes precise and within boundaries, without crossing the contour line. Unlike the previous piece, the shapes drawn here and sharp, triangles and square, which makes them look heavier. The only 2 softer and rounder shapes are depiction of the sun and unidentifiable objects. The only 2 softer and rounder shapes are depiction of the sun and an, unidentifiable object. In the composition, they are placed at the middle diagonal and painted in complementary colors. Not only is their shape different from everything else that the girl drew, but their colors are mutually contrasting. She spontaneously created a golden section composition. She placed a big sharp element into the space between the ground and the sky, shifted slightly leftwards of the imagined central line. The child cut through her triangles with lines and drew smaller triangles with the larger ones, creating rhythm. She colored the triangles within the line in green and 3 triangle tips behind the green ones in black. In this manner, she created the illusion of front-back space. The child used triangles to convey the melodies, ascents and descents. The colors are simply with a contrasting accent of black color in several colored planes. Although the child created a composition with indication of recognizability, such as the landscape, skyline, ground line, we cannot say with utter certainty whether the shape in the space between ground and the sky is a mountain or an imagined shape. The students show the children a photo of composer's portrait, and the children drew the composer's portrait. Ponchielli was drawn by 19 children from the same kindergarten group. The portraits show the children depicted the composer meticulously in relation to the presented photo. The photo shows him with a beard and hair with only one ear visible, wearing a suit with buttons. The children accented the beard and hair. Some of them added another ear in the portrait they placed in the landscape. The facial expression, that's it, the intensity, expressiveness of the gaze, also well depicted. The hand pressed quite firmly against the paper. The comparison of musical and visual parameters connected with the dance of the hours from the La Gioconda opera mostly confirmed the hypotheses that were put forward. Specifically, the first hypothesis has been confirmed. Shorter musical phrases in formation of 2 short duration notes, each delineated by pauses, are evidently depicted with smaller details, lines closing the small circles. Although the rhythm is not stressed with visual elements, interestingly, the rhythm is fluent in the piece. It is present in the repetition of similar forms, which might be depiction of the tempo moderato. The second hypothesis is not measurable on this composition because there are no dynamic leaps. On the other hand, the painting demonstrates a richness of lines indicating musical experience and repetition audible in the music. The third hypothesis has been confirmed. The character of the composition is playful, lively, carefree, ethereal, flirty, and evocative. 2 feelings appear, the feeling of reluctance and the feeling of safety. The paintings are dominated by yellow, blue, green, and red. The fourth hypothesis is not measurable on this composition because it is instrumental. The fifth hypothesis has been disproved because all the paintings include recognizable motifs. The sixth hypothesis was excluded from the individual analysis because an identical issue was identified in the analysis. The stimulus in the activity are both visual and non-visual motifs, and most children's paintings demonstrate a faithful depiction of the visual material. All of the above leads to the conclusion that children, while listening to music, use hand movements to draw and paint their impression, which something builds on musical expressive elements of a musical piece, while at other times it is partially or completely different from them. In this manner, they depict their emotional world, how and what they think about while being stimulated by sound and or music. Although analysis of musical or visual artworks follows certain rules and language, the experience of an artwork is individual and depends on several factors. Children of early and preschool age do not have to be acquainted with either visual or musical language to express their experience of a musical piece through fine art. In fact, children spontaneously and freely express their emotions and associations with the experience of music in a fine art medium. We believe the integration of the artistic curriculum opens up new possibilities of conceiving and understanding music and fine art, as well as new perspectives in planning and implementing an integrated curriculum, achieving in this manner a child's holistic development.